Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about the NBA and specifically the future of the NBA and things that could happen in this upcoming 2017 offseason and things that could happen in the upcoming 2017-2018 NBA regular season that could perhaps shake up or change this Warriors dominance that we just saw in the finals. And so yeah, I'm basically going to be talking about what is next in the future of the NBA. And before I get started, I just want to say that I actually, using this really cool website, I made a custom shirt. There will be a video on that soon, so make sure to stay tuned once that comes out. I'll put the link of that video in the description of this one, so make sure to watch out for that. And with that being all done and said, let's get started. Now, first of all, let's talk about the Cavaliers, the team at this point that is looking like the team that will probably face them for the fourth straight time next season, and the team that I think has the most chance to kind of bring the Warriors down or make a big change in the league. And so first of all, let's talk about what the Warriors exploited them in the finals. Now, throughout the regular season and the playoffs, they are basically able to use their strategy of putting in a defensive lineup with LeBron or an offensive lineup with LeBron, and this pretty much worked throughout the regular season in the playoffs. But because the Warriors are such a good team in the finals, it did not work. And when Cleveland had their defensive lineups in, the Warriors would exploit them on offense. And when Cleveland had their offensive lineups in, the Warriors would completely obliterate Cleveland when Cleveland was playing defense. And that basically did not work, and this really showed their lack of two-way players. So one of the main things I think that the Cavs could go after is to make a potential trade for Kevin Love for Paul George. This is something actually that everybody is talking about, how I think they could trade Kevin Love for Paul George. This would be great because Paul George is a great superstar and he is one of the best two-way players in the entire NBA. And you know, the Cavs here could be using the Warriors strategy of sort of strength in numbers. Having a lot of superstars will get the job done, and obviously they'd be sacrificing Kevin Love for that. But I mean, come on, Kevin Love is not consistent at all. He's obviously great at times, but in the finals he really did not do well, and he's just not being consistent enough for the Cavs. Paul George is somebody who can be consistent, and he's one of the best two-way players in the NBA, which is something that the Cavs really need at this point. So I think making Kevin Love for Paul George, I agree with everybody who's saying it, and I think that would be certainly a great trade. Something else they can do that I think really might not shift and put them over the top to beat the Warriors, which I think the Paul George trade could, is potentially trading Kevin Love for Serge Ibaka. Now before you go crazy, hear me out on this. Ibaka is a great offensive player, and like Love, he can knock down some threes when you need him to, so he can space the floor decently well. And on the flip side, he is an amazing defensive player. So while Love for Ibaka might not push the Cavs over the edge, which might be what they're looking for, he is another great two-way player that they can target. So now let's talk about what Paul George, he actually committed verbally for him to stay in Indiana, which I think makes the Cavs trade a little bit easier because they won't have to worry about him going off somewhere. They can focus and talk with the Pacers GM and make that Kevin Love deal right there, which I think would be the best possible option for the Cavs this upcoming offseason. Let's talk about what the Paul George committing to Indiana could mean for other teams. Lots of people were talking about how Paul George could potentially sign with the Celtics, or about how Paul George could go to the Lakers. I mean, during the finals and during the playoffs, there was a lot of talk about Paul George going to the Lakers. I mean, most people, including myself, were actually expecting Paul George to go to the Lakers in the offseason, but it seems like at least through the upcoming 2017-2018 season, that's not going to be something that we could potentially be seeing. And this means that the Lakers will have to put off their trying to at least get into the playoffs and trying to start contending for a little bit longer. Because I feel like if Paul George came into the Lakers, they could actually try to make a serious run at starting to contend and trying to make deep runs into the playoffs. Because I feel like that's what Paul George would demand if he came to the Lakers. There's no way he'd just go to the Lakers for no reason, with them not even being a playoff team. But that impacts the Lakers in that the Lakers most likely to draft Lonzo Ball. I know there have been talks about Josh Jackson as well, but I don't think that's likely. So the Lakers they're gonna draft Lonzo Ball, and with that, him and Paul George and Julius Randle and the whole Lakers developing thing, I've made a video about that, go check that out. If they just threw Paul George in that mix, that would actually work very well, but they're gonna have to put that off as well. I mean, they're gonna have to put that off during this time until at least through next season. But the major thing I think over here we have is Paul George committing to Indiana. It's with the Celtics. Now the Celtics, a lot of people are talking about how the Celtics are going to get those few superstars that could possibly push them over the edge to maybe pull out the Eastern Conference title and maybe make a trip to the finals. Now Paul George is one of those people who people said the Celtics should start to look at. But now that he's staying in Indiana, it could be getting a little bit harder for the Celtics to try to get that edge over the Cavs. Now obviously, what I think the Celtics should definitely do, and I'm pretty sure most of you guys will agree with me as well, they should trade that #1 overall pick on draft day for Jimmy Butler, one of the superstars who can push them over the edge, and then possibly even target Gordon Hayward. And I think with Butler and Hayward, them both would really have a huge impact, and they would really help out the Celtics. So I think for the Celtics right now, the best possible scenario for them to change up the NBA and the future of the NBA would be try to get Jimmy Butler with that trade for starters, and then if they can, try and target Gordon Hayward. Because besides that, I really don't see anybody stopping the Warriors' dynasty or dominance. I am a Cavs fan actually, but I hate to admit it, but the Cavs, they need to shake some things up and get those two-way players. Now going back to the Cavs, I want to talk about Kyle Korver. So in the finals, Korver really struggled. He did pretty good with the Cavs throughout the regular season, but he just completely choked and did not show up in the finals at all. Now this, nobody has talked about this, but one thing I think could really work out for the Cavs, that could look something like sending Kyle Korver over to the Rockets and getting what they need, a sixth man, a solid sixth man from the Rockets. They send Korver over, and I think they could be looking at something like Lou Williams. Now Lou Williams is one of the most elite sixth men in the entire NBA, and we all know that. Now I'm not talking about the Cavs trying to target Eric Gordon. I really don't think that's realistic, but I think it would be great if they could get Lou Williams because he's one of the best sixth men in the NBA, and he could definitely help out the Cavs there. And plus, as for the Rockets wanting Kyle Korver, I think that would work because Korver is a pure sharpshooter, and that really fits in with who the Rockets have right now, and he would be another piece for the Rockets to add who would really fit with their team's play style. And finally, let's talk about the Spurs and Chris Paul. Now Chris Paul, he has said that he is going to be talking with the Denver Nuggets and the Houston Rockets. In fact, the Houston Rockets GM made an interesting statement saying that they have something up their sleeve to beat the Warriors, and that Chris Paul is going to have talks with the Rockets and Nuggets. Probably he's going to talk with the Spurs as well. And I think Chris Paul, the Spurs, would be another great way to shake up the NBA and potentially stop the Warriors. Because you see, Chris Paul will fit in perfectly with Greg Popovich's play style. It seems to me they're just made for each other. And you know, if Zaza hadn't pulled that dirty thing on Kawhi, you know, the Spurs actually had a legit chance at getting past the Warriors. So we'll have to see about that. I think Chris Paul to the Spurs, a great move. But that's it for the video. I hope you all did enjoy. I know the editing in this one might not be as good as my previous ones because I am currently on vacation and I will be through early August, but I hope that's okay for you guys. I hope you all enjoyed. Hit that like button and subscribe for more. Tell me down below in the comments what you think of my ideas, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.